Here and Now, the program featuring the news and interests of the African American community. Here's your host, Sandra Bookman.
Coming up, the humanitarian crisis in Haiti, ongoing efforts to save young lives in that troubled island nation. Also ahead, how Black Health Matters is addressing health disparities in the African American community. A conversation with former White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, how she's using her memoir to encourage others to become politically engaged. And viral sensation Lene Veni on her new mission, delivering a different kind of nightly newscast. That's all ahead on Here and Now. According to the CDC, African Americans experience significantly more health disparities in comparison to other racial groups, and death rates are higher when it comes to serious illnesses. The Black Health Matters Summit and Expo is a multi-platform initiative that focuses on overall wellness and provides resources and information on managing chronic illnesses. Joining us today is its founder and CEO, Rosalind Young Daniels. Welcome back to Here and Now.
Thank you so much.
Great to see you.
Same here.
Last year's Expo and Summit was just a resounding success, so I'm expecting the exact same thing this year, if not bigger and better, right?
Absolutely. You know, again, we had such a turnout, so thank you for, the kind words that you shared and for being a part of it.
Now, it was my pleasure. I was really impressed with the turnout and impressed with how much information that you offered and all of this, the screenings, right. That I'm sure there were quite a few people that may have been the only time in the year that they get screened.
That's what we're hearing. So screenings are so much a part of it. And that is really the tenet of good public health, is that you should understand where you're starting. And so to have healthcare workers that can come, speak with you, screen, and give you some coaching and counseling, it's so incredibly important. It makes a big difference.
And the other great word that folks love hearing is free.
Yes, yes. So all of that is free. So we screen for breast cancer, we screen for prostate cancer, and so for most Black men, this is an important event that they should attend. So we always ask that the women in their lives make sure that they come out for those screenings, because often with the African American community, people are not diagnosed until they have advanced something. So nip it in the bud. Come out and get your free screening.
And then that, in fact, is one of the biggest health issues. We saw the impacts of COVID because there were so many pre-existing conditions. So it's imperative that you get on top of your health. And what I also find interesting about your journey here is that how you've been doing this for about 7 years now, I think you told me.
Yes.
And this all sort of grew out of what?
Out of a vision. I used to attend scientific meetings. Now, mind you, I don't have a scientific bone in my body, probably got a C- in science, a B- in math, but I could understand that when a scientist would convey what advances are available, how science has changed to benefit patients, that I got. And I said, if I could just harness that, bring it into the Black community and expose us to that level of conversation, we would have a game changer. Mm-hmm. And so what we hear is that the summits are transformative because they're hearing scientific information. They're not pandered down to. People get it. When someone's speaking and they want you to understand, mm-hmm. you will understand.
Yeah. This summit, it's a day-long event. Is it 8 in the morning?
It starts at 8 in the morning.
8 in the morning.
And we're extending. We're actually going to go to 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm. And it includes, walk me through what we can get. We said it was free. So all of this information, these screenings, what all are we getting here? And what can people expect to walk away with once they've attended this day-long summit?
Wonderful question. So we're going to talk about the chronic diseases that impact the Black community most, but really don't get oxygen. Mm-hmm. So that includes kidney disease. We have higher rates of kidney disease, and we need to understand why and to build a management plan for that. We're going to talk about COPD, HIV in the community, heart disease, rare disease like hATTR amyloidosis. Mm-hmm. That's something that we have more of. So again, the diseases that impact us most, but we may not have language around it, and we're not aware of the symptoms.
Mm-hmm. So you will be able to find that information. And for many of these things, there are, as we said, there will be screenings, free screenings available for them.
Absolutely. And then I have to talk about the quality of the faculty. We're going to have outstanding presenters, again, world-class physicians that are passionate about improving the health outcomes of people of color. And so they are going to convey information, love, and so that people can just harness that and do better.
And you're gonna, instead of doing a bait and switch, you're making sure once you get there, you're fed in the morning, fed in the afternoon.
We call it a party with a purpose.
Okay.
I think when people come to the summits, they kind of get it. You're going to work out with the guru of abs. You're going to learn things about chronic disease. You're going to snack. We'll even have a food demonstration as we talk about unhealthy weight, which is on everyone's mind these days. So it's a little bit of everything, but I have to talk about the community partners that make it impactful.
Yeah, you don't do this alone.
Exactly. You really have to have the buy-in of the community. So from organizations like Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, AARP, Memorial Sloan Kettering, we just have so many different types of community partners that uplift what we're doing and support by being on site and providing resources.
Yeah, and I think, is the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce involved?
And we are stand on the shoulders of the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce.
And Harlem Week, I think, is going to be going on during that week.
Exactly.
So we are talking about, the date again is August 14th?
Yes.
Am I getting that right?
August 14th from 8 to 5.
And you had like 750 people last year. You had to turn away quite a few people.
I know, and that really broke my heart. But in a way, I was so upset about that. But it was a beautiful thing at the same time that so many people wanted to come out to say that my health matters.
Exactly.
And they wanted to congregate and get the information. So I'm excited that we are doubling our space by going to Riverside Church this year.
Absolutely fantastic. 490 Riverside Drive. Going to send folks to blackhealthmatters.com. That's your website. Find out all the information. And also, that website is a resource, not just when the summit is going on, right?
Right.
Which is really, I think, important for folks to know. HarlemWeek.com, because this is part of all the activities that you have every year uptown. And there was going to be a live stream, and if you go to one of those websites before the event, August 14th, you will be able to find out exactly, if you can't attend, how you can participate virtually.
Yes, so
right?
You'll just sign up, and then you'll get a link, and you can watch it from the privacy of your home.
Perfect. It is always a pleasure talking to you. You're just such a dynamo and such a go-getter, because you made all this happen. You saw a need and you answered it.
Well, it's, for too much who all of that is given, I just feel that I have to give back.
Okay. Rosalind, it's always great to see you. And I will see you on the 14th as well.
Absolutely.
All right. We'll be right back. Haiti is currently in the midst of a severe humanitarian, political, and security crisis. Armed, violent gangs control much of the country, reportedly 85% of the capital city of Port-au-Prince. There are severe shortages of basic necessities. We're talking fuel, food, water. The health system is on the verge of collapse. Malnutrition is widespread, especially among children. Our next guests are on a mission to save lives, empower, and educate the children of Haiti. Joining us today is the founder of Friends of Haiti, New York, Pierre Michel Khalil, and Gregory Victorin, the founder of Gregory's Learning Center. Thank you both for being with us this afternoon. You were both born in Haiti,
yes,
right? And you both love your country so much that you have formed your own organizations to try to make a change in the lives there.
Yes.
So do you have relatives that are still on the island, friends?
Yes.
That are, so talk to me about what you're hearing from folks at home at this point.
Well, my brother's there. Mm-hmm. My brother is a civil engineer, and he lives in the folks on the hill. Mm-hmm. He lives up there, and he was relatively safe up there, but the gangs are not working their way to that area, so they started burning many of the houses there, and he feels very, very insecure there. So I have suggested to him that maybe he should go and stay where the school is because it's far away from all the problems.
So you were able to still do some of the work you're doing without the interference
With
of
no
these.
interference. The kids go to school every day.
Okay.
And there's no interference.
And what about you, Gregory?
Yes, I have a lot of family there. It's similar. When the gangs start shooting, people have to flee, run away. But for now, for the safe part, everyone is going to school without any interference. So they're okay for now.
For now.
Yeah.
But I got to believe that you worry about the situation there, especially with your own families, because you feel close to the folks there. I know that a lot of people are displaced as well. Where are they going once they're forced to leave either their village or town or home? Where are they going?
Well, sometimes they leave the neighborhood and they go and rent from other places. Sometimes they have family members that live in different areas that will take them in. So it all depends on what resources that they have. And most of the time, they depend on us here to help and pay for those expenses for them.
And Michelle, do you get the sense, I asked you, did I call you Pierre, Michelle, Pierre, Michelle? Do you get the sense that that Haiti is getting the aid that it needs? We're talking about shortages of fuel, food, that kind of thing. Are those resources going into the country?
Well, going to the country means that it's going to Port-au-Prince.
Okay. Yeah.
So
for a lot
everything
of people, I
is
think
focused on Port-au-Prince.
Because it's the big city.
Because it's the city is where everyone runs to for medical for anything that they need. Whereas I am in a very remote area. It's called the Pine Forest. It's cold up there. In December, the temperature drops to 40 degrees. And no, they don't see anyone. But it would be okay because they're farmers. But if they could get their merchandise and their produce down to the capital and sell it, it would be fine. Yeah. Right now, most of my families, the families that we work with, are starving because they're not able to sell their produce.
They can't get down.
They can't get down.
It's not safe.
It's not safe, but no one knows anything about the countryside. Everything is focused on the capital.
Yeah, for most of folks here.
Yeah, and that's a mistake that is made, and that's why people keep going to the capital, because that's where all the services are. So they keep going to the capital and they're not getting the services that are needed, but at the same time they're abandoning the villages where they have their land, where they had their house, where they had the families, where they had a connection to something.
Because they're in need.
Because they're in need. And that was the mistake that was made from the get-go after the earthquake in 2010.
Okay.
The whole focus was on the
Port-au-Prince.
Port-au-Prince.
Well,
go ahead.
Even before the earthquake, which is why it was devastated in Port-au-Prince, because it was overpopulated with everyone coming in. To her point, even if the help do come, sometimes they can't afford, what they are getting. Sometimes, even after the earthquake, there was help that came and people was turning around and selling the items. So it all depends and stuff, but when all of them come to Port-au-Prince, the area is overpopulated, and again, when the earthquake happened, you see the damage that it did because it was too many people.
Yeah. The infrastructure could not handle
No.
the overpopulation. So let me talk to you both about, because you have individual organizations.
Yes.
Pierre, Michelle, your organization, which you started in 2008, correct? Friends of Haiti, New York?
2007, we made our first journey there.
Okay. So what specifically, tell folks specifically what you focus on in Haiti.
Well, when we went there, it was someone invited us to that countryside to see a school in progress. The community built the school. It was a makeshift school. It had 60 students. They ranged from the age 3 to 22, and they were all sitting together. Okay, so we went there, and we go there not knowing what the reality is. Okay, we're going to help that school. But fortunately for us, we stayed there. We followed the farmers, we followed the women, we followed the girls, we followed everyone to see what they were doing. And we were like, well, You can only get education if you have access to the basic things. So we couldn't open the school if there was no water. We couldn't open the school if there was no health care. We couldn't open the school if there was no nutrition. So while we were thinking about the school, and we knew that if we had the school, the kids would not come because they'd be too sick to attend, they'll be too hungry, and most of all, the water. Am I gonna go to school without bathing? Am I going to school with a dirty uniform? Are my feet gonna be dirty? So we had to address those things as we were building the school.
And you did that.
And we did that.
And so right now, you just said a few minutes ago that your school is up and running. It's kind of out of where a lot of the action that we are talking about is based.
The only problem is getting the teachers there because we have a high school. And high school in Haiti has no permanent teacher because there are so few of them. Haiti lost a lot of educators in the 60s that went to the Democratic Republic of Congo when they needed professional Francophone people. Haiti lost a lot of teachers. Haiti lost teachers during the earthquake. So the high school teachers will come to your school and give you a couple of hours and move to my school and then move to his school.
Okay.
So the problem of getting the teachers there is not that they cannot get there, it's the transportation because the gang control the main road.
Okay. All right. Now, Gregory, you also focus Gregory Learning Center.
Yeah.
Why was this a cause that you felt like you had the power to do something about?
Well, ever since I came, I was always connected with my family back home. And I wanted to start the program based on my own experience. I feel like if the children of Haiti have English as a second language and was able to learn other languages, it would have been easier for them if they ever have the chance to come here to the US, that they wouldn't have to step back in classes, they would have just continue with everybody else. It has been an ongoing issue in within the Haitian community. Even if they have degrees, they have to step back because of the language problem. So we wanted to focus on that. But when I went in Haiti in 2021, what we discovered was a lot of kids that was hanging out in the street. Some of them was in school, most of them was in the street. And when I asked the question, why are those kids on the street? The parents couldn't afford to send them to school.
Okay.
So we had to expand the program to pay for 55 kids to go to school, get them off the street, because if they're in the street, we all know what's gonna happen. They're gonna be recruited, and the next thing we know, they're gonna be part.
And my understanding, a lot of the gangs are made up of these young kids that are, sort of running wild almost now. So they take advantage of that.
So I wanted to prevent that from happening. We still have issues because whenever activity is going on, school have to stop because we can't take any chances, people are running. But the most part was for us to get started and build from the ground up, and that's what we are trying to do.
And where are you? Where is your?
Oh, I'm in the middle of the problem.
So you're right.
He's in the urban.
All right. So both of you, just talk to me about. And look, I think we were raised this way in this country too, that education is the first step to being able to determine, what you can do with your life, how your life is going to roll out. So is that the idea here, that if you can get these kids also meeting some of their basic needs, educated, that is a way for them to rise up out of this situation and I guess maybe perhaps be future leaders in their own country?
Well, for me, my parents always told me, and the dream was for us to go back and contribute to the country and start a business and, help out. Right now, it doesn't look like this could happen because everyone is fearing for their life and they're trying to leave. Respectfully, I understand because of the condition of the country. But if they do have their education and they could start their own business and they have the computer skills to do so, there's a lot that they could do. They could do their own videos. They could do, other stuff online, and start their own businesses in Haiti. So there's a lot of things that they could do if the country ever give them the chance and opportunity to do so. So if we get them ready, if the door ever gets open, they'll be ready to step in.
To walk right
Yeah.
through it. And Pierre Michel, what's your feeling about what sort of needs to be done at this time in Haiti? Besides what, and I know there are many other people doing similar things, the two of you, really to get this ball rolling, to get services out to people who are not focused in Port-au-Prince, to get on the road to having a government in place that can actually do what governments are supposed to do with their people. Do you have the sense that we're close to that, or what would you like to see happen in the next few months?
Well, I can tell you this much. For a farmer to have his kid go into the city and study, it's a big deal. So usually when a farmer is able and capable, they send the kid to the urban area. Our experience has been since the earthquake is that people are returning to the villages. And our experience is that with all that's happening in terms of the insecurity in the city, a lot of people are returning back to where they used to live and where they actually have their land. My idea of it is that I have a student who's in Costa Rica who is studying as an agronomist there. I have students who are engineers who are studying or finishing this year, nurses and all that. I would not want them to leave the country. My idea of educating these people is for them to stay in Haiti. Haiti has lost most of its professional people, the doctors, the engineers. Listen, when I was a child, my grandmother used to take me to the periphery of the open market and used to go to the shoemaker and say to the shoemaker, she's going to school in September, she needs a pair of boots, and the shoemaker would take the measure of my feet and make the shoes for me. The seamstress lived behind my house. All those people are gone. The people that could be the model for the next generation, they are in Canada, they are in the United States, they are in France, and some of them in the 60s went into the Francophone countries in West Africa. So for me to say I'm educating people to be, in case they have to leave, that's not.
You want them to stay.
I want them to stay.
But how do you get the infrastructure in good enough shape to support them staying and also staying alive, quite frankly?
Right.
That's the question.
We have the school, we have the clinic, we have the cafeteria. We brought water to every structure in the building. We have Floresta, which is from San Diego. They're there teaching the farmers how to plant trees so that we won't have any mudslide. We're trying to improve the environment just so that the people can see we have things that are invested here. We don't need to go into the city. Okay. That is what I'm hoping for and what I'm pushing for.
And you're praying for.
And I'm praying for it, and I hope the Haitians stays where they are.
Because you want to rebuild the country.
Yes.
Now, I want to give people your information so that they can help you, because I'm assuming you need donations and other things that if they go to your websites, they can find out how they can best help both of your organizations. Gregory, yours for the Learning Center, glc-haiti.org.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes.
And yours is friendsofhaiti.org, right?
FriendsofhaitiNY.org.
It is a beautiful country, beautiful people. I have had the opportunity to visit over the years covering stories there, and it is heartbreaking what we see happening. And we're hoping that 2025 ends on a better note.
Oh, yes.
For Haiti.
Well, I hope so.
Thank you both.
Thank you very much for having us.
Today.
Thank you.
We'll be right back. She made history as the first African-American and openly gay White House press secretary, and she faced the daily intense scrutiny that comes with that position longer than any other woman that has served in the role. In her memoir, Moving Forward, a story of hope, hard work, and the promise of America, Karine Jean-Pierre tells her powerful story of how she came to be at the center of political power, from working in the Biden administration to campaigning for President Obama and Vice President Kamala Harris, and now inspiring others to become politically engaged. It's our pleasure to welcome Karine Jean-Pierre.
Oh, you said it so well. Thank you.
I practiced.
I see. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Gotta say it right. Thank you so much for
Thanks
sitting
for
down
having
with
me.
us.
Thanks for having me.
It's
of course.
great to not see you standing behind behind that podium answering questions that I'm sure you weren't too keen on answering on.
It's the job. It's the job. I always say I don't miss it. People always ask me if I miss it. I don't. I'm very happy to be on the other side of things. But it was an honor and a privilege. I mean, I represented and spoke for the President of the United States, the leader of the free world. That was not lost on me. I got to be in the West Wing every single day and standing on the shoulders of my ancestors doing it. And so I feel really special and blessed to have had that opportunity. Do I miss it? No.
Was the job harder than what you anticipated or just about what you expected it to be?
Well, I had the privilege before stepping into the role of being the principal deputy press secretary for Jen Psaki, who was Joe Biden's first White House press secretary. And so I did it for a little bit over a year. So I had a real sense and a feel of what the job was like. I had gone and done the podium and stepped in for her when she was not at the podium. And so it was good to have that experience. Obviously, everything is different once you're in the role. And so the experience was a little different, obviously. But I was lucky enough to have had a little bit of, oh, this is what it's like. That's what it looks like, a little bit of the taste of it.
Why did you write this book?
So
because it's not a tell-all,
it's
which
not
seems
a tell-all.
to be the...
So just to set it, so I wrote that book moving forward in 2019. So I wrote it 6 years ago. And I wrote it because I felt it was important to have representation and for people to hear their voice in a story. And as a Black woman, a queer woman, a woman that came from an immigrant family, I didn't see those many stories. And I also was in politics, and I wanted to, young people used to ask me all the time, because I worked in the Obama administration, how did you get to where you got to? And so I wanted to also give a little bit of a template, a guide on how you can get politically involved and how you can step into your own political power. And I actually feel, while this is, the hardcover came out in 2019, this is the paperback came out this week, I actually feel like this book is probably just as important today as it was 6 years ago, because so many folks are wondering now, in this moment, how do they get involved? How do they get engaged? What should they do? And I think it's important for folks to get involved in their community, to get involved in politics. Do not turn away, do not fall into fear, and that you have a voice. And that's what this book is all about.
What I love about your story is that well, there are things about it that aren't regular, but when you read the story, it could be anybody's life. That, you know, if you're following the course that but it could be growing up in any family and just really having the courage to step out on the things that you believe in, or do you have a desire? You kind of ran toward things in a lot of ways.
That's exactly right. I followed my passion.
Exactly.
And I didn't know where it was going to lead me.
And politics was not your passion. Reading this book.
No, when I first started, it wasn't, because I grew up, and I started saying this, I grew up in an immigrant family. And my parents wanted me to be a doctor. So that's what I thought I was going to be. And then when I realized that wasn't my passion, understandably it was something that my parents wanted, I had to figure out
what was yours.
It was. Yes, exactly. What power, what was I going to stand in? What was going to be my power? And so that's kind of what the book talks about as well. And my career has literally did zig-zag. It was, and I tell young people all the time, follow your passion. And we worry, right? We worry a lot about, well, how am I going to pay the bills? How am I going to do this? Which is understandable, because many of us don't come from means, right? We don't come from a wealthy family. And so if many of us actually have to take care of the people after us or our family. So it's a scary thought. But what I want the book to represent is that you can do it. You have to have belief in yourself. And you have to take those chances and take those leaps. Another thing about the book, that it was written in 2019, but what we did do is we have a new cover, which I'm really excited about. The hardcover, my hair is much shorter, so we were like, okay, people are going to be like, who's that person? So
you're definitely a Black woman talking about your hair.
My hair, right? And then, but it does have an afterword in it, the paperback version, where it does talk about the last 6 years and giving a little bit of flavor of me ascending to the White House podium. And so And so it does give a little bit of behind the scenes about that.
And I do want to remind people that you are one of ours. You live
Yes.
briefly in Queens, and as my producer was explaining to me, because I was trying to give you the Queens, and she said, no, it's Long Island. And she's saying in my ear, Strong Island.
Strong Island, that's right.
Yeah,
that's
your family moved here from the Caribbean.
That's right.
And the Queens first,
Yes.
and then you moved out to Long Island.
Nassau
went to
County,
school.
Hempstead, went to middle school, high school. I'm a New Yorker through and through.
Yes, you definitely
I am
are
a New Yorker through and through. That is my heart. That's how my heart beats, New York. And I think if you read the book, you'll feel a little bit of that New York attitude, and that's how I move around in this world.
And that's exactly.
Yeah.
That attitude helped you to move and ascend in this world.
Yeah.
The state of politics today, it is almost no matter what side you fall on, people aren't happy with the way things are going.
Yeah.
So it seems to me that the message you have about the need for young people to get politically engaged is that much more important.
I really do. I think that, I'm always very impressed by our young people. And I think you have young people who protest and they care about issues and they put their heart out, which is beautiful to see. I think it's important. That's why many of us live in this country, because democracy and freedom and having the right to express ourselves. You see it during the civil rights movement. I mean, this is our history, is to speak out loud. We see it from our ancestors. We see it from people before us. And I think it's important to continue that. There's a whole nother part too, is that if you want to change the system, I think it's also important to run for office or get involved,
be part of the system.
Be part of the system, be part of writing the legislation, pushing policy. That's how you change things. And that's what I learned. That's part of my journey. Because even though I didn't become a doctor, when I came out of college, I wanted to make change. Mm-hmm. I wanted to make change that helped people who looked like my family, right? Who had to deal with the issues that they had to deal with coming through, like, as I was growing up, right? Mm-hmm. Coming through that time. And so there is power in it, and not to be fearful of it and not to run away from it. You could make a change, and there's power in it. And so that's what I want young people, and anybody at any age, really, to really learn and understand, or just be open to it. Mm-hmm. Be open to it.
I mean, I think that there are, what you will hear younger people say today in a lot of ways is the system is broken. Mm-hmm. And I hear you saying there are parts of it that aren't working.
Yeah, there are.
But you have the power to fix it.
If they didn't have an opportunity to tell them there's an opportunity to fix it. Mm-hmm. There is. And I would be lying if I didn't say, there's parts of it, of the political system, that isn't working. There is, but we can get involved and try to do our best to make change.
Your take, since you were at the center of this, your take on partisan politics today, it just seems to me and many other people that it is a bunch of gotcha, and the inclination to work together is not there at all. Yeah. What do you think that says about, the country actually being able to make progress, as long as that is the situation in Washington?
It's very layered, right? You have misinformation, disinformation, you have social media, people get 24/7 information. You have to fact check everything that you read. And there is this inclination of being very much stuck in your party, in your beliefs, in your ideology, and not really looking at the other person or really hearing what's being said on the other side. But the reality too is who's sitting in the White House matters, right? What's happening at the White House matters. When you have someone who is saying the press is the enemy of the state, when you have someone putting policies that hurt vulnerable people and has that rhetoric that really plays into partisanship, that's scary. Mm-hmm. That's scary. And so it does start from the top. It does start from examples. And so we, as a community, have to keep pushing back and making sure that we're being heard. Because the people in D.C., when you think about Congress, you think about, the White House, those folks they're supposed to be representing us. They're supposed to be making it about the American people first, not about power, not about partisanship, and not about politics. And I think that is some of the things that have changed. And this is why I tell people, don't sit in fear. There's a lot of chaos happening. Don't sit in that fear. You have to really bring your community and speak out loud and be active in your community, because I also truly believe they come for one, they're going to come for all of us.
Yeah, that's generally
and that's
the truth.
what we have seen. We've seen that.
Whatever it is, you're next.
You're next. So, and especially when you're othered, and especially if you're in a vulnerable community.
One of those vulnerable communities, the LGBTQ community, certainly feels like under the current administration, in many ways, they have a bullseye
Yes.
on them. Just
Yes.
your response to that, and how, and what needs to be done.
1,000%. If you are, again, othered or part of a vulnerable community, we're speaking specifically about the LGBTQ plus community, our protections are being taken away. We are no longer protected, or more of those protections that we have obviously are being taken away. So we feel vulnerable. And this is why I say we all have to come together as a community. They come for one, they're going to come for the next. And that's the way this works, right? That's the way, an idea of dictatorship, right? That's the way that works. And so we have to not forget the people who are vulnerable and can't speak for themselves. Yeah. And that has been part of this book, part of my experience, and also being at the podium, is I know not only that representation matters, seeing me and representing the communities that I represent, that made people feel seen and feel a little safer. And so that is important as well. It's like we have to make sure that we're using our platforms in a way that we're protecting everyone and speaking for everyone. And it is scary. I am worried. Yeah. I am truly worried.
And you toss into that basket the DEI rollback.
The DEI rollback, right? And I read an article recently that Black women have been the ones that have lost most jobs, that have really high job loss amongst Black women since the rollback of DEI. I mean, that's the harm. And if you think about Black women, many of them are leaders in their household, in their communities. They're raising children, and some of them are doing it alone. And you're telling me now they're losing their jobs? That is a huge problem. And so, you know, we are living in a time that is, I'm very worried and I'm really scared. And that's why we have to find our political voice. We have to continue to lift up our community, go back into our community, because you don't have to do public service, right? You don't have to.
There are other ways.
There are other ways to make sure that you're part of protecting vulnerable communities, part of protecting your community, and making sure that you're not a target. And if you are, how do you find ways to stand up for yourself and stand up for your neighbors?
And also allies.
Allies.
In whatever that fight is.
We need allies, 1,000%.
I want to ask you about a book that recently came out, the Jake Tapper book, that raises questions about the President Biden's mental acuity. And the book has even faced some backlash in terms of why wasn't some of this reported beforehand? Just your thoughts.
So I have not read the book. I'm not planning to read the book. I know there are multiple books out there. It is not, I don't feel like it's my job to respond directly to any of the books. And I have no desire to do that. What I will say is, from the things that you just listed out that I have heard, it's not my experience. It was not my experience. I have known Joe Biden, President Biden, since 2009. This is someone that I respect deeply, that has cared about my career, that decided himself that the person who should stand at that podium behind that lectern should be me and look like me, because he understood how representation mattered and how it was important to not leave anybody behind, and that to bring everyone in. That was a big deal when he said, hey, Karine, as a Black woman, queer, immigrant, I want to be part of you making history and being in that White House press briefing room. I have a lot of respect for that, a lot of respect, because remember, I was number 35. The people before me did not look like me. So that is the person that I know. The person that I know was someone, when I was called into the Oval Office, or he called me, I was always a little worried because I knew he was going to ask me something that I may not have an answer to. Who's on top of what the press was saying, who's on top of what was happening in the world, and wanted me to get clarity, or me to explain something that he saw, or have we worked on a particular story. That's the person that I know. And what I'm hearing about in these books is not the experience that I had. Now remember, I saw him every single day and spoke to him every single day. It was not my experience.
Do you have a feeling about what, and this is really politically in the weeds, but you were at the center of it, what the Democrats need to do? They seem to be floundering.
Yeah.
And they don't seem to have a response.
Yeah.
For many of the things that Republican lawmakers have signed on to that are exactly opposite of what the president ran on in terms of helping the average American person.
So I will remind folks that there was Project 2025. It was very clear what was going to happen. They laid it out for us almost throughout the whole entire past year in 2024. We knew what was coming. And so we should have been ready.
The book, Moving Forward, A Story of Hope, Hard Work, and the Promise of America, you can find it wherever books are sold. We can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh, thank you. Same here. Thank you so much.
You can come back anytime.
I appreciate it. Thank you for this opportunity. I appreciate it.
Our pleasure. And we'll be right back. Her unapologetic voice on social media comes through loud and clear, whether it's about politics, social justice, or culture. Viral sensation, writer, activist, and NAACP Image Award nominee Lene Vinny is on a mission to shake up the traditional news format on her new series, The People's Brief, streaming on Revolt, a multimedia company committed to amplifying Black voices. Joining us today, social media influencer and host Lene Vinny. So nice to meet you.
It's nice to meet you as well. Thank you for having me.
What a fantastic project to be able to work on. Why is this something that really caught your attention and felt like it was a good fit for you?
Yeah, I think the team at Revolt wanted to do exactly what I wanted to do, and that was give the parking lot a bigger stage, or give me a bigger stage, rather, to do what I want to do with more time. I've been used to truncating really tough, heavy, and intricate topics into 3 to 5 minute segments to keep people's attention. But the attention is there, which is evidenced in the amount of people that come to watch every Friday. So it was an opportunity to seize the moment and really give people more of what they need to continue lifting the veil. And they didn't want to abbreviate me in any way. They really wanted to give me a megaphone. So it just made sense.
So I was going to circle back because you mentioned the parking lot.
Okay.
The parking lot pimp. I love the name.
Thank
and
you.
that's kind of really how you got your, you got your voice out there and really caught people's attention.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the parking lot pimp, because that was the precursor to this project.
Yes.
What you do there in that short period of time and why you think it resonated. You've got almost 1 million?
We're getting there. We're inching very close.
Yeah, it's like more than 800,000.
Yes.
Girl, that's 1 million.
Thank you. Well, so Parking Lot Pimpin' started because I felt like it was finally my time. I've been preparing for that sort of content all my life and just not really knowing. I got my master's in African American Studies. I've always been a super huge Black history buff. And when I left that master's program, I automatically wanted to share more. And so being that history buff in general, social studies class was always fun to me, but I know it was boring to a lot of my peers. But from all the things that I learned, all the people that I was exposed to, I understood that if I had known this information earlier, I might be even more unstoppable than I am now. But that information was only available to me behind a paywall in academia, being accepted into a premier institution to be able to learn from some of the top scholars in the field. And so I wanted to break down that paywall and offer it to people, particularly young people. So I went to go teach high school right after I got my master's because I wanted those kids to have more information about themselves and their ability and capacity to shape the decisions they would make moving into the world as functioning adults. But all that is to say, teaching did limit me in a lot of ways, especially working for public school systems. They also weren't paying very well. And, you know, 2020 was a tough year for many people, and sometimes tragedy breeds a lot of opportunity for things to change. And I saw a shift in appetite from my community to want to learn more and know more, to be equipped more and armed with more knowledge, information, vocabulary, nuance, to be able to advocate for themselves and the people around them in their community. So it just felt like, you know, my grandma always used to say, prepare for war in a time of peace. And I feel like I'd been preparing for war, and now it's time to fight. And it was just timing, great timing.
So what you essentially are become an expert at doing is using all of that knowledge you have about Black history and applying it to the current travails in society and helping young people especially understand why that history, being informed of that history, helps them meet the moment.
Yes.
Yeah. And I wonder if this new program, you know, The Brief, is really going to help you do that on a bigger scale. That's your hope, right?
Yeah, that is definitely the plan. We have 45 minutes now, and we have a lot of time to do a lot of things with, but history and contextualization is always so important, because what we find out is, I'm not going to say things never change, but things look the same, and the same problems persist over time. And we're not the first people to fight these battles, and I want them to see that there are people who have created blueprints for us, and people expounding off those blueprints right now to help us keep going and moving forward and shifting.
And I think at this time when a lot of people feel like a lot of African American history, there's an effort to just eliminate it, to wipe it off the books, to make it less important. It feels like what you're doing is really, really that much more important.
Yeah, I agree. It's definitely a form of resistance, and to know that I'm in a moment where what I'm doing is pushing against the status quo and inspiring other people to resist as well, that I'm a resource. That can be a heavy thing, but you know, I'm not doing it by myself. I have a great team behind me, and we're all, my director says every day when we come to set, all right, you guys, you ready to make history? And I don't think, you know, our names going down in history is the goal, but we really understand we have something precious to offer, and we want to protect it and do it well.
And that is the effort. So if I asked you, how is your show different from the newscast that say I do every day? What do you say?
I would say, number one, you're not going to come to the show and get my spiel of the top headlines of the week. We're going to take things that are ongoing and consistently affecting our communities. We're going to connect them back to things that might be currently going on right now, because as I said, things don't change and the same problems have been persisting over time. But you're also not just going to see me sitting at a desk. You might sometimes, but you'll also see me in the field. You also see some man on the street. We might have dinner with some special guests. We might have an expert interview. We might do a skit or a sketch. And so you have this one show that is an amalgamation of maybe Tonight with John Oliver and 60 Minutes and SNL with a whole lot of Black girl magic on top. But I've always approached things in a non-traditional way, so it only makes sense that the show would look and feel like that too.
And it sounds like it is going to be a hit. That combination of informing and educating people with a little bit of commentary thrown in there.
Yeah. We call it edutainment.
Okay. So I'm going to send folks to your social media at Lene Vinny, social media, and then youtube.com/revolt. And that's where they can find you.
Absolutely.
And
so, yes. So we air Tuesday nights at 9 p.m. on Revolt on any sort of cable network that you might have. We have a channel. You can also watch it on the Revolt app on streaming the next day at 11. But on YouTube, you can catch snippets the next day. Yeah.
I got a feeling we are going to be seeing and hearing from you soon. Again and more. All right?
That's the hope.
Lene, best of luck with this project.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
We'll be right back. Thank you for joining us on Here and Now. If you missed any portion of today's show, you can watch at abc7ny.com/here and now, or listen to our podcast wherever you subscribe. If you'd like to comment or share your story, email us at hereandnow@wabc.com or follow us on Facebook and Instagram. I'm Sandra Bookman. Enjoy the rest of your day.